You are listening to Teacher Talk Live on 94.3 WODU, Old Dominion source for news, weather, talk, and sports.
Welcome back to Teacher Talk Live. I'm your host, Matt Smith. Tonight we are discussing Virginia's new teaching standards. Are they good? Are they bad? How do you plan on adjusting to them? Also, call in and tell us about your most embarrassing moment in front of your class. I'm really looking forward to hearing some of those stories. I'm sure there's some funny ones out there. You can reach us at 757-I-TEACH-1. Again, that's 757-483-2241. All of our guests join us via the Dixon-Ticonderoga hotline. Ticonderoga, when all you need is the basic yellow pencil. And this segment is brought to you by iHeart Smitty Brewing Company. Take it easy after school and drop by their brewery in Norfolk to try one of their new spring seasonal beers, the International Waters IPA and the 4-9 Saison. Hurry before the tap runs dry. Before we take any more calls, I wanted to talk a little bit about a new teacher we have working her way into the classroom. Rebecca Romo is a student at Old Dominion. She plans on becoming a social studies teacher when she graduates. This semester she was at Bayside High School for her practicum, where she observed a geography class. She ended her practicum a few weeks ago by planning and teaching a lesson to this geography class. Now, the footage of her lesson was sent to this show, and I thought we would discuss it tonight. I've seen the footage of Miss Romo's lesson, folks, and it's worth delving into here tonight. I think we can all learn something from Miss Romo and her lesson. To help us analyze and better understand Miss Romo's lesson, we have retired teacher Lindsay Stouffer joining us via the Dixon-Ticonderoga hotline. Lindsay, thanks for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine, Matt. I'm happy to be talking with you.
Now, Lindsay, when the members of our radio show watched the footage of Miss Romo's lesson, we were impressed with this aspiring teacher and her lesson. Have you gotten a chance to watch the footage of the lesson, and what did you think?
Yes, Matt, I did get a chance to watch it. I thought Miss Romo did a fabulous job for teaching her first lesson to high school students. It had me thinking back to when I taught my first lesson. I don't think I did nearly as well.
I'm sure you did a fine job. Now, Lindsay, can you tell me what Miss Romo's lesson was about?
Sure. Miss Romo taught a high school world geography lesson on Asia. Following the Virginia SOLs for World Geography, Standard WG4, Ms. Romo's lesson covered the physical, economic, and cultural characteristics of Asia. Students also had to locate the physical features and the political boundaries of Asia on a map.
That's a lot to cover in a lesson. Can you tell our listeners what Ms. Romo did to teach this lesson, and how did the lesson go?
To introduce the lesson on Asia, Ms. Romo began the lesson with a short reading about North Korea. She read this to the class and then read a recent article from CNN about a college student who was arrested in North Korea. Following the readings, the students took several minutes to answer 5 questions about the reading. She then called on students to answer the questions and discussed each one.
So Ms. Romo used a current event to introduce the lesson on Asia?
Exactly. This activity allowed the students to glimpse into one Asian country and their culture. It helped spark their interest and prepared them for the remainder of the lesson.
That sounds like a good strategy. What else did Ms. Romo do?
Following the warm-up, Ms. Romo had the students take out vocabulary packets. These packets contained about 25 vocabulary words the students would need to know for the unit on Asia. The pages were divided into columns. The first column contained the vocabulary word, the second column contained a picture of the vocabulary word, and the third column was left blank for the students to write in the definition. Ms. Romo displayed the vocabulary words and their definitions on the smartboard, one at a time. The students passed a soft globe around the room and took turns reading the definitions. While students wrote down the definitions in their vocabulary packets, Ms. Romo provided them with a few extra facts and details about each vocabulary word.
What were these vocabulary words?
These vocabulary words included weather, climate, economy, culture, religion, art, and architecture.
What did Ms. Romo do after the vocabulary?
After going over the vocabulary, Ms. Romo asked the students to take out their laptops and log on to a website called Shepherd Software. On Shepherd Software, the students found an interactive political map of Asia that was not labeled. Ms. Romo also displayed this map on the smartboard. The website would give the students a country to find on the map, and students had to click on that country. Ms. Romo had students volunteer to go up to the board one at a time and find each country. After finding each country as a class, Ms. Romo asked the students to continue playing the game as a review for an upcoming quiz. She also allowed students to complete the map game on the smartboard. If students volunteered to play the map game on the board and got a perfect score, they would receive 100 on their upcoming quiz.
So it sounds like Miss Romo took advantage of a useful piece of technology.
She did, and this website really helped the students begin to remember where in Asia these countries were located.
How did Miss Romo finish her lesson?
At the end of her lesson, Ms. Romo reviewed the vocabulary words with the students through a game of bingo. Ms. Romo gave each student a blank bingo card with a list of vocabulary words. Students filled in their bingo cards with the vocabulary words. Ms. Romo read a definition and asked for students to volunteer to tell the class what word it was. When a student would respond, the class marked the word on their bingo cards. It seemed as though the students enjoyed this fun little review game.
It did seem like an enjoyable way for the students to review. Miss Romo planned and executed a pretty solid lesson. Overall, how did you feel the students responded to Miss Romo's lesson?
The students responded well to Ms. Romo's lesson. There were no behavior problems, and the lesson was engaging. The students enjoyed throwing the globe around the classroom during the introduction of the vocabulary words. They also seemed to like the map quiz game they completed on the computer. The students were excited to play bingo at the end of class and even became quite competitive.
What were the parts of this lesson you feel went very well?
Using a current event to introduce the topic was an effective strategy. The students seemed interested in the article about North Korea, and they could relate to it because it focused on an American student who was arrested there. The use of technology went well for Ms. Romo. The quiz website the students used to review the political maps of Asia provided an easy way for them to review the location of countries. It also gives them the opportunity to access it later if they choose to. The bingo game went well because it gave the students a chance to review the vocabulary and added some excitement to the classroom.
We both believe Miss Romo did a fantastic job planning and teaching this lesson, but going forward, what are some things Miss Romo should pay closer attention to if she wants to improve her teaching?
You're right, Matt. Ms. Romo did a great job, but there are a few things she could keep in mind when she starts planning her next lesson. First, she should be careful when having students read out loud like she did for the current events and the vocabulary portions of her lesson. It's fine to have students volunteer to read, but there were a few students who read out loud during Ms. Romo's lesson who really didn't want to. I would tell Ms. Romo to just know your students and be aware who is comfortable reading and who is not. This ensures no student is embarrassed or discouraged.
That's a good observation. You're right. I know I didn't like to read out loud when I was in school. What else would you suggest?
I would also tell Ms. Romo to make sure her instructions and directions are communicated clearly. She did a great job with this for the most part, but there were a couple of times when students needed clarification. And lastly, I noticed Ms. Romo stood in the back of the room for a lot of the lesson. I would suggest Ms. Romo try to move around the room a little more. This will be much easier to do as she becomes more comfortable teaching, but she can move around the room using her proximity to control behavior and monitor student activities.
Those are very helpful suggestions. Lindsay, we really enjoyed having you on with us tonight. Your analysis of our young teachers is always insightful, and it also helps the teachers listening to our show improve their own teaching. We appreciate you joining us.
It's always a pleasure, Matt.
Again, that was Lindsay Stouffer analyzing footage from Miss Romo's practicum lesson at Bayside High School as she works towards becoming a teacher. We wish Miss Romo the best of luck. And if you or someone you know has footage from a lesson you want to share with us, please send it to us via email at teachertalk@wodu.com. We always enjoy viewing listener videos and offering tips. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion on the changing Virginia SOLs, and the phone lines are busy, so we'll take some of your calls here on Teacher Talk Live.